This week, Microsoft announced AI will be inside Minecraft and other Xbox PC games. New Copilot features will search your inventories, offer tips and guides. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Minecraft was offered as a demonstration for how Microsoft Copilot will help gamers. What you need to know, Microsoft Copilot is a suite of tools based on OpenAI's ChatGPT and DALL-E 3 language models to help users with everyday queries. Microsoft demonstrated Copilot AI gaming features at today's Surface and AI event, detailing how Copilot will help gamers find information more easily. Using Minecraft as an example, players will be able to ask, "How do I craft a sword?" And Copilot will search your Minecraft inventory for the necessary materials and help you craft it. Maybe Daniel Rubino will finally be able to play Minecraft. Yeah, probably. This is interesting. That Copilot is going to be embedded into games. This is a lot deeper than I thought. Some people are done for if they see what they're building. I know people are gonna be building some crazy stuff with this, with Copilot in Minecraft and things like that. Yeah, the fact that Copilot can be used to search your chests and inventories for necessary materials or guide you to them if you don't have them. It will also explain how to craft the item and so on, eliminating the need to alt-tab and read a website for Minecraft guide like ours, RIP Windows Central. Yes, so this is presenting some good and bad things, I think, to me. There's some good things here. Is that I think it's gonna make gaming much more accessible to people who don't know how to do do games like Minecraft or maybe even some RPGs. So yeah, basically what they're doing is they're integrating AI into the games. That's going to help you play the games better. Now, one of the bad things about this is that how many of you guys have used like an online guide? Like a guy, for figuring out how to get a certain item or defeat a certain boss in a game. Because I've used it. I've used it for Persona. I was just using it for Persona. I was using it for Animal Well. I was using it for, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I was using it for a lot of different games. I have so many times, yeah. We probably shouldn't do this because I want to make my friends suffer without a guide. Yes, you want your friends to suffer without a guide. Yeah, exactly. If it's no fun if they suffer and I know how to play. Yes, that's how I feel. If I know how to play better than my friends and then they start using the guide to be better than me, I'm going to be like, well, darn it. Yeah, oh my God, don't bring up that boss. No, don't bring up that boss. That boss in Jedi Survivor was horrifyingly bad. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, this is going to replace online guides, but I do think it's good because it is going to make gaming more accessible for a younger audience who maybe doesn't want to go online and read a guide. So there are good and bad things to this. Now, this is going to bring up another issue, I think, in how AI is going to interact with games, because I feel like I think what's going to happen is, not only is this good tech, developers are going to build this into the games, and I think that's fine. But the biggest issue, I see with this is that, yeah, it's going to put some websites almost out of business. They won't be able to write guides, or they will write guides, but what's the point when they're getting replaced by an AI who can train on how to do this stuff and look it up and get results back like that? It's going to be very difficult for those websites to compete. So I think there's some good and bad things. I think accessibility is a good thing for some people. It might help them be able to play the game better, because there are people on there who don't know how to look up, or who won't look up guides on that stuff. And this just raises the question of, and this is the death of game guides, and right down here. And this is just bringing up the future of web in general. So, is it going to give you accurate information? Is it going to give you good information? And here's another good point. Will we get to a point where we can ask AI to simply play parts of games you don't like for you? That's going to be a major issue for competitive games. I'm about to play Overwatch 2 in a little bit, and what if someone is going to write an AI that's going to ask you to play a professional game, like a match of Apex Legends or a match of Overwatch 2, and it plays the game for you better than you actually play the game yourself? That's a problem. I think there is going to be some, I think I couldn't find this online, but I heard there's a company, I think maybe ASUS or Gigabit, that is going to put AI into a gaming monitor and give players a competitive edge. Now, I don't think it's going to be a major competitive edge. Yeah, it's what if the AI what if what if we get AI to start playing parts of our games, or what if we help it give us an edge in our aim? And it just allows cheaters to roam free. Because let's say there's nothing installed on the computer that an anti-cheat can detect. This is going to open up a lot of issues for games. It's going to open up some neat things for games on telling players how to do things, but it's also going to open up a lot of issues for other games with bad actors. And this is what I'm concerned about when we inject AI into our games, or if a third party comes along and injects AI into our games. Like, if you want to build your first sword, then the AI teaches you how to. Later, when you fight for the dragon or something, it turns off. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, basically, you craft something, it teaches you how to craft something, but when it comes to actually using the skill of the sword in the game, yeah, it would turn off. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, let the players, learn by themselves. I think that's a good idea. But yeah, I mean, this is going to open up just AI tools are going to... AI is coming for is going to be built into games. We just don't know how, and we don't know what that's going to look like. And I think there's going to be some good actors in this, and I think there's going to be some bad actors in this. And then you're going to have people stuck in the middle, like people who write game guides, who are probably going to be few and far between of this stuff. Who knows if the AI is even going to give good information, because I think the people who work on those game guides, they do work very hard to provide you with good information. So I don't think it's necessarily doom and gloom for people who write game guides online. The only thing about this is that so many people just know how to play Minecraft. That is a great way for people to learn themselves and the game teach them. Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, I think AI could be a good learning tool for people who want to learn how to play Minecraft. Yeah, absolutely. Or just any game, like, yeah, any game that requires you to get resources and build, and yeah, I think that would be very good. And if it's something like Cuphead, the AI just won't help you. yeah. The AI would be fighting a losing battle if that were to happen. Now, yeah, so now, this is going to open up some good, bad, and ugly things in gaming. I think the good is that it'll make games more accessible. The bad is that obviously people who write guides, people might not be relying on them very much, and who knows, the AI might even give false information. And the ugly is that I feel like there could be some bad actors that would use AI to give them a competitive edge in games. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly about using AI in games when it hits the player, when the players start playing the games. Now let's talk about video game development. That's going to be a whole other thing. That's going to be a whole other issue. Okay, I'm back. So what happened? Well, we're going to talk about game development because we have Neil Druckmann. We have Neil Druckmann here. He's saying this. Now, Neil Druckmann, for those of you who don't know, he works at Naughty Dog. He's one of he's like the lead designer, head developer on games like The Last of Us, Part 1 and 2, and Uncharted. He's a very good writer, and Naughty Dog does an amazing job with their games. But Neil Druckmann was saying this. Says AI will reduce costs, revolutionize development, and help push the boundaries of storytelling in games. He adds, there are ethical issues that need to be addressed, and it's crucial to precisely direct these tools to achieve the intended outcomes. Yes. So I'm very curious to see what this is, what this is actually going to do. Because Sony, I've talked about this before, Sony has a problem developing its games, and the fact that they are too expensive to develop. They require a lot of manpower. They take a long time, and their games are just very expensive to develop. Again, The Last of Us Part 2 and God of War Ragnarok were like over $200 million to develop. It cost over $200 million to develop, and that's a lot of money. And basically, what he's saying is that it will revolutionize development, which I'm sure it will. It might lower the cost of development and push the boundaries of storytelling in games. Now, this we have to talk about, but this, I do think AI is going to be able to help with video game development. I just don't know what that tool is going to look like. I don't know if generative AI is going to help. I do think that, when developers are coding for their games, I do think that AI is going to be able to look at code much quicker than developers. AI is already doing that right now. My boss sends me code that he got from ChatGPT sometimes for things like PowerShell commands and whatnot. And that's very helpful that he does that. So I do think that it can help, programmers and whatnot. But in terms of artists and generative AI, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sold on generative AI right now. Unless it's like for, copywriting and things like that. Well, writing an email or writing something to make it sound more professional. That's what I mean by writing. But push the boundaries of storytelling in games. So in terms of what he means by this, I'm very curious to see what he means by this. And I'm curious because I don't know how AI can help tell good stories. Perhaps I'm a little short-sighted on AI and its capabilities in terms of telling stories. But I feel like when you're creating something, like you're telling a story, you're drawing a piece of artwork or anything, you need that human element in it. There needs to be a human element attached to this stuff. I do kind of feel like this is a bit controversial for me because I don't know. I really do think that, Naughty Dog and any developer shouldn't be replacing its writers or its storytelling pipeline with AI. They should be using real people because that's what makes for good stories, is that they're written by real people who can tell a good story that's human at its core. And I don't know if I'm skeptical on AI helping push the boundaries of storytelling in games. I'd like to see how that's possible. Maybe they can give me some better examples. But right now, I think that's going to be a problem. I think that's going to be weird because I don't know if AI can necessarily tell great stories, at least for the time being. That could change. It can get smarter. Now, in terms of ethical issues, he's right. There are ethical issues. One, obviously, when you cut down on development time, you're not going to need to be able to hire hundreds of people or thousands of people on your game. So Sony or Microsoft or EA or Ubisoft or Take-Two could lay people off. And that's going to be a problem because I don't want to see people lose their jobs because AI came and took them. I don't think anyone wants to see that. That's not good. We need a good, healthy economy, and AI just can't replace people like this. AI can make interesting things. Yeah, I think I've seen some interesting AI artwork. I have. But at the end of the day, it's still AI art, and I don't know how well that would go over with game developers or with gamers. But they can't make Kendrick Lamar yeah, they can't make Kendrick Lamar level of good music. You're right, they can. Oh man. Angela, that's a good one. You're right. They can't. They can't. Oh, that's good. I like that. That's a good jab. Because see, the thing is, like I said, game development costs are going up. So if game development costs are going to go up, there's only so few solutions that we can have to make them stay the same or make them go down. One is that we make smaller games, which means it's going to be less people on the games. And obviously, I don't think people want that. Even I'm guilty of saying I want our games to be bigger and better. I think everyone's guilty of that. Or they hire in countries that don't pay developers a lot, like India, which I don't like the idea of that either. I don't think developers should be. I mean, developers already outsource a lot of their work to other studios in other countries, but I don't want to see jobs in the US get outsourced to jobs overseas because they're cheaper. That I'm not all for that. I'm not like an America first guy, but I think we should have jobs here in America, for people, for companies that are in the USA. Yeah, everyone is asking for open world games. Almost everyone is asking for open world games. Yes, and that's a problem. Yeah, everyone is asking for open world games. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's asking for open world games. I mean, I like open world games, don't get me wrong, but I don't think every game needs to be open world. I mean, just this past week, Hellblade 2 released, and it was like 5 hours long. 5 hours long for some people is very good. For me, that's one stream. But for some people, 5 hours is like, especially people my age who have kids and a job, 5 hours in Hellblade 2 is like perfect for some people. So yeah, so those are two options. You either make smaller games and you hire less people. Nobody wants that. 2, you outsource your development studio to a to a country where they don't pay high salaries. Nobody wants that, because I don't want to see people lose their jobs here in the States. Or 3, AI is going to come in and help make those tasks easier. So we're kind of in a conundrum right now with game development. And yes, Neil Druckmann might be right. It might be easier to, it might revolutionize development, but we have to be careful that we don't fire the people who actually make the games, because those are people. And, I would rather buy a game that's made by 1,000 people and support them and their families, That's just me. Because they do, people, they do work hard. Game developers do work hard in this industry when they want to make their games. They do. They are very passionate. Listen, let me tell you something. When you guys sit down and play a game, the developers who make that game, they are very passionate about this industry. A lot of them work long hours. They don't get paid very well. They are incredibly passionate about the stuff that they put out there. And I don't want to see this industry replace that talent. They already have enough issues replacing the talent anyway, because, yeah, it's a volatile industry in terms of working in it. One thing Daniel Ahmed said is, one thing people need to realize is that more than half of game developers, especially in Asia/China, are using generative AI for professional game development at this point. Mostly for pre-production concept stuff at the moment, but will expand, of course. So yeah, right now it's already being used in Asia and China, countries like that. But he said it's going to expand, and it's probably going to be more integrated into the development pipeline in the next 5 years, maybe even sooner than that. And there are a lot of ethical issues around this. Yes, I do think AI could provide some good for developing the games from, conception till release, or pre-production till release. But I need to know what that tool is going to look like. And I think developers want to know what that tool is going to look like, or what those tools are going to look like. Because, even some developers are a little skeptical about it happening. Especially indie devs. Yes, if you guys can, support your indie developers. Your indie developers are extremely passionate about this industry. I was just playing Animal Well the other night, and the guys who made that, you can tell when they made that game, they were incredibly passionate about that game. Incredibly passionate about the game. Making games. They went above and beyond. Now Microsoft did announce, some neat PCs this week. They're using AI is going to be a big selling point for hardware, especially when the new iPhone comes out this holiday. It's going to be big on AI, and Microsoft is already getting on this with what they have called a neural processing unit, NPU. It's powered by the Snapdragon X series. This is basically just a chip. You guys might not know what this is, but this is basically an SoC, a system on a chip, and this chip is going to have some AI capabilities. And I actually think this is one of the good things about AI, is integrating it into our hardware, and letting it run locally. I think that's great. I think that's great. I like seeing stuff like that. Chances are the phones that you guys are using right now has some form of AI or machine learning inside of them right now. That doesn't mean your phone's going to become sentient one day and take over your life. I mean, it does that without it being too smart. But there's things like text prediction, and if your phone runs low on battery, it'll shut down some apps, and it learns as you use the phone and whatnot. But I do think that this stuff is kind of neat. This is a little privacy invasive, so that'll be interesting. But it's interesting. Someone drew a bad picture here of a turtle, and then co-creator spit out this image, which I think looks really nice. And then this is what I really like, is things like live captions. I've talked to people from other countries, and having live captions, different with people using different languages and whatnot, having that translate live on your screen using the chip inside your computer. I think that's great. I think AI should definitely, that's one of the great things I think about AI. Creative filters, that's pretty neat. I think that looks pretty awesome. It looks a little weird. It looks a little cartoony, but I think that's also pretty cool. So, yes, I do think that AI is going to do some good things. AI has its problems. Like right now, AI needs massive servers to run off of, and it uses up a lot of energy from the grid, and that means more fossil fuels to burn, and that's not good. I do think Microsoft bought a fission reactor or a fusion reactor to use for a supercomputer that they're rumored to be building. So that's a good step in the right direction, but it's going to be a while before that type of energy is going to be used across the industry for this. But yeah, AI presents a lot of ethical issues, and I was reading a book called The Coming Wave, and I believe the author of it, I believe he works at Microsoft right now. He worked at Google DeepMind, but let me see, what is the book called? Okay, I want to give you guys this book's name. If you're ever interested in what future technologies are coming, this was a good book to read about. Now, I think he does over-exaggerate a lot, but he does bring up a lot of ethical issues in terms of AI. And it's The Coming Wave: Technology, Power, and the 21st Century's Greatest Dilemma. And Mustafa Suleyman, he was the co-founder of DeepMind and Inflection AI. And he talks about a lot of the ethical issues with AI. And I think this was a good book. Also talks about things like, quantum computing and biotechnology and things like that. Now, some of this stuff I still feel like is a ways off, and I think AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is intelligence that can make itself better, I still think that's a ways off. But he brings up a lot of good points in this book about ethical issues that are coming with this new technology like quantum computing and AI, and it was a really good read, and I think it does open up your eyes on ethical issues just even outside of the gaming industry, because we do need to have better discussion. We do need to have discussions on how to properly use this technology, because some people may not want to use AI in their day-to-day lives. Yeah, I'm guilty of using AI. I use it on my phone with Grammarly if I need to write out an email or a message to a client. I like to make sure my grammar sounds appropriate. The iPhone keyboard uses predictive text, which uses machine learning, and it uses machine learning for Face ID, and I think that's all great. But I'd like to see, I do think that there are ethical issues around AI, and we need to have a discussion about that in terms of what it can do for the economy and, replacing people's jobs, which I don't want to see. It's already doing it. Yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about with AI and, game development and just, the industry in general. So, all right.